Don't worry, Mum, I'm going to tell everything. Everything. I'm going to tell your full story.
An order follower is a person who does what someone else commands them to do, and who has therefore attempted to abdicate their free will and their personal responsibility for choosing their own actions based upon correct determination of the morality or immorality of a particular behavior. That is the definition of what an order follower is and does.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. For 2 years they tried to get you in here and they find, oh no, 4 years actually.
The regulations to them.
I know.
These are the psychopaths, whether primary or secondary psychopaths. These are individuals who consciously do recognize the immorality of an action that they have been commanded to perform, yet they willfully choose to carry it out anyway, knowing fully that it is wrong and violates someone else's rights. That's who I call the psychopaths. They just don't care, and they're going to do violence anyway because they just want to. Those are the three kinds of order followers. Order following, as I trust that everyone in this room just clearly understood from that graphic demonstration, is directly opposed to conscience. When that gentleman was asked if he cared about whether he was doing the right thing or not, he said, "I just do what I'm told by my leaders." And when asked if he wanted more information about the morality of those decision-making processes, he responded by saying, "I'm fine the way I am." You know, conscience as a word comes from the Latin prefix con, which means together, and the Latin verb sciere, which means to know or to understand, hence to know together. Conscience is common sense knowledge about the difference between right and wrong.
There it is, Mum. We're going to heaven. We're finished now. With the baby.
Right is that which is based in truth, and hence it is correct. It is in harmony with the laws of morality that exist inherently in nature, what I term natural law, moral law.
I'll never write John and do nothing. I'm as plain as can be. Stanmore.
Cosmic law, God's law, whatever name you want to use for it, it's the laws of morality and the difference between right and wrong. Actions based in right do not result in harm to other sentient beings. Conversely, wrongdoings are based in illusion and pure belief and fantasy and constructs that only exist in an imbalanced mind. They are not based in truth, and therefore they are incorrect. The biggest part of the problem we're facing on Earth is that the average human being, certainly not in this room, but the average human being walking around on this planet, does not understand what a right is and cannot give you the simple definition of a right. A right is an action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. If harm is resulting, the action is a wrong. If no harm is resulting to someone else, that action is reserved as a right, and it is quite simply that easy, that simple to understand.
And that's a full one, so it's not a huge amount. But you've got all the drawers.
And order followers never exercise conscience. They are not acting of their own free will accord. They are attempting to abdicate that free will choice to someone else, who they are then just saying, I will follow what you tell me to do.
Go out.
The difference between the institutions of order followers today and all of the order followers that conducted some of the most heinous atrocities that mankind has ever witnessed. Soviet Russia, Mao's China, Hitler's Germany. There's no difference between them. They are just as immoral. They are just as incorrect. They are just as ignorant, and they are just as cowardly.
So tell me what you're thinking.
Which is why when you're taking on a new financial commitment, it's a really good time to stop, review your situation, and
I know.
by taking out real life insurance.
Listen.
That way,
I know.
if something happens to you, the impact will be lessened on those left behind.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I know.
And for a limited time, when you take out real life insurance...
Mum, I'm going to get you home, okay? I'm going to get you home. I know you feel, what the hell am I doing here? Get out of my room. Like when I came in, you were like, you didn't want anyone in here. You don't want them in here because they burst in. They're rude. They've got no respect for your privacy. Let's go out. Come to my place. We'll feel better, happier. I know why you're angry, but don't be angry with me. I'm on your side.
They give you nothing.
I know they give you nothing. But you're going to get it back. We've got your lawyer, okay? We're going to ring him. We're going to go down and ring
A
him.
fool of hose. They fell upon me.
I know.
And the only way was the grass. No.
I'm going to get you home, okay? I promise, okay? I
I
promise.
knew. I knew you.
I didn't know any of this was going to happen.
No. You'll know what the odd of exit. The man and I.
financial strain that is often experienced.
How was that?
But if we had to define what a cult actually is, this would be my best definition of it. It's a system of religious veneration and devotion, which espouses beliefs that are dangerous, especially to the lives, rights, and freedoms of those who are not its members. That is what crosses over the line of being a religion just based on belief that holds back your understanding of truth, and when it goes into the realm of being a cult. Cult belief number 2, the second belief of the cult of ultimate evil. We have rights that others don't have. The cult of ultimate evil believes in the inequality of human rights. Order followers erroneously believe that they possess rights that others do not. Due to their cult indoctrination, they refuse to accept the truth that everyone has the exact same rights.
Discussion at the Holy Spirit Nursing Home, Tuesday, 20th of June. Taking the entry tag from Wednesday Kennedy and blocking her legal capacity to take Gwen Kennedy from Holy Spirit Nursing Home. Should she even be permitted to take Gwen into the grounds of the nursing home? Question mark. This needs to happen because tag removal. Anna, this is Nurse Anna, says she no longer feels safe in her work environment, fearing that Wednesday will enter Christina House. Well, who is Anna? Let me reintroduce you to Anna. Anna colluded with my brother on Mum's first morning in the nursing home, sacked me as carer, gave my mother a new doctor that my brother had directed, even though he wasn't guardian or carer. So this is Anna, who has colluded with my brother and Dr. Hislop, who says that she no longer feels safe in her work environment, fearing that Wednesday will enter Christina House. It's number one of Trish's directives. Trish, my sister, disinherited by my mother and now acting her vengeance on my mother. It's number one of her directives. I leave, come back at 4:40, get Mum dressed to see Dad, but told not allowed to see Dad. Then wanted to have a walk on premises, not allowed to walk on premises, right? This is all these things we return to after the guardianship hearing, these punishments. And Trish said it, one of the reasons why they said Mum should go back is because apparently Dad really wanted to see Mum, he really missed her. And they knew this control order would mean that he wouldn't see her, because I'm the only one that's there every day of the week and I couldn't take her over. Sunday 23rd of July, sit with Mum in an outside area so she can get some fresh air. I wanted to take Mum to church, but we're now confined to Dominic Ward, which means Mum gets no outside exercise, which helps her depression. I draw pictures of Mum and write down her words. When she says something interesting, I wait for siblings to turn up, 6 p.m, 7 p.m, 8 p.m, nobody comes.
The cult of order followers believes that human beings can decide what rights people have or do not have. They think that comes from us, that rights come from us, that we get to make up rights based in just constructs in the mind, our whims, our likes, our preferences. Rights don't come from human beings. A right is just what I said it is, an action that doesn't cause harm to another. If you performed an action that doesn't cause harm to another, that's a right. If you performed an action that does cause harm to another, that's a wrong. And those actions exist in nature. They are real world natural conditions that we put into effect through our free will. Therefore, we don't determine whether a right is a right or a wrong is a wrong. That happens inherently as a result of the behavior itself.
They won't let my mother walk. She needs walking and she needs to be social to stay healthy. I told her this. I don't care. I don't care about my mother's care. What is she doing here?
So the cult followers also believe that human beings are actually capable of delegating rights which do not exist. They think we can turn wrongdoings into rights and say, oh, you're allowed to do that wrongdoing. You're allowed to inflict harm upon someone else and cause suffering.
So they just came out and nurse punch in the face, just came out and yelled at my mother and I for eating slow. She eats too slow. So then, stressed out by that, because they've threatened to ban me for lunches if she doesn't eat quicker, and she's not allowed to eat out in the fresh air if she doesn't eat quick. So stressed by that, by the thought that Mum will have to eat lunches alone, I then start stressing Mum out. Eat, right? And trying to force her to eat because I'm scared that I'll be banned if she doesn't eat at their speed. And it's just a setup. It's a setup to ruin the relationship with my mother, to get me to yell at my mother. We had family dinners for years. Mum was always slow, but we respected Mother so she could take as long as she wanted. But I suppose now she's been discarded. She doesn't get those privileges, obviously, not here. Paul and Trish don't want to have any privileges.
Some magical authority can grant that to you. We'll see how this religious belief works, how this cult belief works very soon. And they also believe that they are capable of revoking rights which actually do exist, preventing someone from carrying out an action that doesn't result in harm to another being. That's what the cult of order followers believes, that they have a right to do that, to prevent right action from being carried out.
Them and take them from
Mum just said they want to take our friendship.
a friend there.
Yeah.
They don't know. A friend there. And there.
I know, they want to take our friendship.
Yes.
I know.
We have taken those things.
Yeah, they took all those things. And they've got to give them back.
Who took
They've got to
those?
give them back.
Who took them?
Oh,
Oh, they took them.
they took them.
Yes, they were.
They sure did. And then they kept you a prisoner, isolated.
No, we don't know what to go to say.
I know.
They might come out of our business. They could take that out and take that to us. To take out, let's run.
Let's run.
There.
Let's run. That's right. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
And I'm tired.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the techniques of cults. How do the cult leaders keep the cult lower down members, the rank and file, in line?
2. Necessity for tag removal and confinement of Wednesday's contact with Gwen. In Wednesday's latest video, titled We Are a Family, she may not name the nursing home as such, but her reference to the nursing home display little maturation in her thinking. Oh really? She states, we don't belong there. Mum was inducted against her will and she has been traumatised by the environment. That's right. When you come in threatening with lawyers, your nursing home traumatised her very, very badly. I watched my mother deteriorate in a very short period of time. Your faux guardians. It's a factory of sorts. Here, Wednesday's rationale for the removal of Gwen from the nursing home at a latter date is clearly stated. Do you believe this? It's sort of funny, right? This is like from my sister, who's had a discussion with the Holy Spirit Nursing Home about my sins against the Holy Spirit Nursing Home that she and Paul have sold my parents into.
I call this the techniques of cults, or how to brainwash willing followers who want to give away personal responsibility for their own actions.
And my sister is now instructing the nursing home in how to punish me. And I'm not showing any maturation in my thinking. Because I state we don't belong there, that's correct. Mum was inducted against her will, that's correct. She's been traumatised by the environment, that's correct. When you come in threatening with lawyers, ... Your nursing home traumatised her very, very badly, that's correct. I watched my mother deteriorate in a very short period of time, that's correct. Your faux guardians, it's a factory of sorts. Here, Wednesday's rationale for the removal of Gwen from the nursing home at a later date is clearly stated. 3. There are a number of videos and blog posts that provide insights into Wednesday Kennedy's mental illness. Really?
And there are 4 main cult techniques: isolation, conformity, indoctrination through repetition, and trauma. Isolation, conformity, indoctrination, and trauma. Let's take them one at a time. Cult technique number 1, isolation. Probably the single most important technique, because it makes it very difficult for anybody to penetrate the collective of the cult, the boundary of the cult. You have to physically separate the cult members or the potential cult members from the rest of their community, so no reason can be spoken to them, as much as that is within your power to do so. Create an us versus them mentality. We are the family. We are the collective. Anybody outside of us is them, and they are not us.
I did everything I could.
Demonize the outsiders. those who don't belong. You know?
This was
The
Jamie, Paul, and
civilians.
Trish.
You know?
This was not
Somebody
me.
recently just told me what police and military are calling us our civilian pukes.
I don't want you here. I know you'll be unhappy here.
Isolation is probably the most important technique. And why? Why is it so? Because you have to cut off the cult members from the knowledge that they could receive from outside of the cult.
Not like him.
I love you. You're my mother, Gwen Kennedy. Who put in your head I don't like you? I love you. I love you.
But she could, even if she's not being true, she shouldn't have said not like him. She shouldn't do that.
Yeah. No, it's not your fault. You are lovable. The way you have been treated is shocking. It's not your fault. You're lovable. You are so, it's wrong. That's why we have to make it right.
What time was his bed?
Cult technique number 2, conformity. Don't tolerate any individuality within the cult. One's old identity has to be completely broken down and reformed.
There are a number of videos and blog posts that provide insights into Wednesday Kennedy's mental illness. Collectively, they point to paranoid ideation. My sister's a librarian. Just let you know, she's not a psychiatrist. And they're all frauds anyway, but here we go. Everyone's an expert. You know what? It's so scary. Mum doesn't remember. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Completely shed and then built back up to something new and different that falls in the rigidly restricted parameters of the cult belief. And you know what? They'll be all too happy to tell you that this is what they're doing to you.
Very good. Very good. Yes, love. Yes. I've never locked them. I run in the lounge. There. And then they were all building. I will have the biggest one. If you think there's one in there.
I can't hear you.
Wherever. Where would you go? Where did you want to put into there?
See, when you come back here, you start whispering. Because you don't feel safe.
You didn't quiet then? You love can you do that?
Yeah, I just really feel like, you know, because of the traumatic way that you were brought here, that, you know, this is why it's not just a strange place, it's the way that you were ejected from the old place and then the reception that we got here, and it's traumatized you. It's traumatized you. Paranoid ideation, consistent with psychosis. But her actual diagnosis for her mental health disability pension is unavailable. Under stress, her condition becomes worse. What's my condition? My condition is actually, it's not even a post-traumatic stress disorder, really. It's like I'm perpetually stressed by these lives, parent kidnappers, defamers, exploiters, terrorizers. I'm continually stressed by that, right? And what they do, and the fact that she actually knows what she's doing. Under stress, her condition becomes worse. So, yes, under stress, anybody becomes more reactive. They have a heightened sensitivity.
That's right. They go to the pubs. Yes.
It's taking you back to Albert Lloyd. They go to the pubs drunk. It's taking you back to those old traumas, darling. We don't want to go back there. We want to think about a bright, happy future. Minnie, Grandma, Auntie Glad.
They use uniforms, one form, rigidity, uniforms to create sameness in appearance, and they use modes of sameness in speech and behaviors, regimented actions. What this does is this builds up resonance. It keeps people locked in step, and they just go along with the behaviors by rote, like a wind-up doll. Cult technique number 3, indoctrination through repetition. Rigorous schedules and instructions. Repetitive behaviors, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And repetition is one of the greatest forms of mind control, if not the most powerful form of mind control. They put them through obstacle courses, drills, formations, marching in step, etc. Repeated phrases, chants, and songs being employed to put them in a certain rhythm, a certain vibratory energy. Indoctrinate the mind. Give it the belief system over and over again until they believe it. Keep repeating the lie until it is widely believed.
And we will take over. We will know you, Mala. Everybody, when they come here for the first time, we ask the family to allow us to
I understand
another
that.
person
I understand.
without interference
I understand.
from outside.
I understand.
So you have to allow, because now
Cult technique number 4 is broken down in 2 halves, 2 parts. There's physical trauma, and then there's mental and emotional trauma. The physical trauma consists of high levels of activity to the point of exhaustion, low sleep time, and disrupted sleep.
We need to get you more of that cream that helps with the pain on your legs. What else do we need? We need pajamas, we need slippers. We need a lot of things. We need some warm pants for winter for you. We need a couple more jumpers in your size. Yeah, that's what we want to buy for you. We want to get you some warm pants, some more socks, some more underwear. Yeah. I know, it's irritating you. I know.
High carbohydrate intake and low nutrient intake in the diet. This damages the brain. It puts somebody in a state of weakened resistance. Their body, mind, and spirit are unable to resist the dictates of the cult. They weaken them through these techniques physically. And then they use emotional trauma to weaken the spirit. Verbal and psychological abuse heaped at them continuously, constantly telling them they're not good enough. Unexpected, sudden, or shocking scenarios. create trauma, create a situation. Oh, you have to jump up in the middle of the night and respond to this scenario that's happening. A perpetual atmosphere of fear. And as we saw in the natural law expressions, fear can only lead to ignorance, confusion, control, or slavery, and ultimately chaos. That's all it can ever lead to. Can't ever lead to any of the good expressions of natural law, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, freedom, sovereignty. Can't lead to any of those things. Certainly can't lead to order and justice in a society.